You're not allowed to be sad. It'll ruin your vibration. Have you heard that when it comes to manifesting? That you're not allowed to feel negative feelings? I don't think so. Let's unpack it today. Welcome back to my channel, Love Vibes with me, JFO, where we talk all things manifestation, quantum field, and so much more. Make sure to subscribe. So we've been told so many times that your vibe has to match the vibe of the thing that you want. And if you're in a negative thought or a negative emotion, that you're blocking your manifestation. What if it was actually the opposite? What if you ignoring your negative emotion is actually blocking you from your manifestation? So let's talk about this. It's a little bit of a paradox because yes, on one hand, feeling the feelings and acting as if and being in the identity of what you desire and what you want, taking action from that desire, right? And that identity, being that identity, talking thoughts of being that identity of the you that is what you want and desire, the future you, right? All of that is so important because that starts to create a habit of mind, that starts to create a habit of energy. And this whole channel is about love vibes. We want to be in that love vibes energy, of course. However, very, very important. You are a character in a movie right now. Yes, you're the hero in your own adventure. And that hero, that character, that you, the human that is you are going to go through emotions. Emotions are not bad. We have to get away from this concept that when we're trying to manifest our dreams or we're working on our identity self-concept work to become a match to this version of us that's in the future, right? This version of us on the timeline that we want to activate, right? When we're doing that kind of work, that daily work, we have this fear that we're not allowed to have a negative emotion. Okay. But the truth is, if you had the thing that you want right now, would you have days where you have negative emotion? Yeah, you would. Emotions are a part of the human experience. And so I'm sure you've heard that emotion is energy in motion, right? Now, for 30 plus years, I have been studying the Divine Zodiac. That's my other channel, Destiny Vibes with JFO. Check it out. In that work, I also teach the Divine Zodiac as a spiritual paradigm. So the Divine Zodiac, we can actually leverage it and use it to understand manifestation. Why? Well, the pattern of the Divine Zodiac goes like this. Spiritual energy, that's fire signs, moves into physical form, that's earth signs. We have a thought about that, that's air signs. And we have an emotion about that, that's water signs. So those four elements that are actually also in the beginning of the Bible, that is the process of energy, emotion, or creation. Okay, so let's unpack it. You've got spiritual energy that moves into physical form. What I call that is the external landscape. That is manifestation happening outside of you. That is the 3D circumstance. Spiritual energy is moving into physical form. Someone's being born. Someone's walking on the street, right? That's spiritual energy moving in the physical form. Okay, that's kind of basically what I like to call kind of the God side of this equation. Okay, now here's what's fascinating. Spiritual energy moves into physical form. That's the manifestation outside of you, okay? Then we have a thought about that. And then from that thought, we have a feeling. That thought and that feeling is the internal landscape. This is what I call it, the internal landscape. This is the mirroring effect that Neville Goddard talks about. Your thought meeting your feeling, that is the mindset or the energy in motion. So when we're talking about your mindset, that is whatever is happening on a continuous, consistent basis that's creating your world, your identity, right? Because if we're constantly repeating the thought, we're looking outside ourselves and we're having a thought about it, commentary, we're like, oh, it's never working. And then that makes us feel negative emotion, right? And then we just constantly say, oh, it's never working, it's never working, it's never working. Then we're in a mindset that's maybe like a vibration of, I'm making it up, right? A vibration of 2 when we need to be a vibration of 100, right? So in that regard, yes, it's very important to have our mindset, to constantly be working on our mindset so that our mindset is increasing. Our mindset is expanding, consistently changing how we see the world around us and how we show up. That's the mirroring effect, right? Now, that also is our energy in motion. It's our emotion. That feeling and that thought together is that emotional energy that's setting forth into spiritual to go back through the cycle again. So that energy and motion is so important because that's what goes back into the spiritual cycle, right? So spiritual moving into physical form, yes, it's the external, what we don't control, but technically we do because we create it in the internal, right? So yes, it is so important to manage your emotions, manage your mindset. All of that is key. However, if you are ignoring sadness, if you are ignoring that negative emotion and it's building up over time, you are actually not really doing the circle dance, right? You're blocking it, right? Because that energy emotion can't unlock in the way it needs to. You have to unpack the negative emotion. It's so important. So a lot of people, again, walking around in this negative thought loop, a Groundhog's Day negative thought loop. Woe is me, it never works. That's very victim, that's very wallowy, right? So yes, sometimes that isn't good, but what is good is taking that and intentionally saying, okay, why am I feeling so negative? Why do I keep saying the phrase, it's never working out for me? Why am I doing this commentary, this negative thought commentary on the external landscape? Why am I doing that? Let's unpack it. Let's get clear on why. Now, from an Abraham-Hicks perspective, Abraham will always say that when you have negative emotion, that's because the higher self, the higher you, I like to say God, right? If God is all loving, if God is just pure love, the love vibes, right? If God is pure love and you're feeling negative emotion, it means that where you're at is in dissonance of what God thinks, right? So really that negative emotion is powerful. It is feedback. When you are sad or feeling negative, it is feedback to remind you what you're actually thinking, what you're actually identifying with, what you're actually in the mindset of. There are a lot of things that are going to happen outside of us that may even trigger us. And it's so important to feel those emotions. So here's the difference of feeling your emotions in a way that might not be really healthy and feeling your emotions in a way that's really going to actually create more momentum in your manifestation journey. So you can feel your emotions and be like, this is awful. This sucks. I can't believe this is happening. Why me? Why me? And then your secondary thought is, I messed it up. Now I'm being negative. Now I can't get back to the positive emotion because I need to be positive for the law. It's kind of funny when you think about it. So what is the better version of that? You feel your emotions. Okay, I am feeling super negative right now. This sucks. I don't like this. This sucks. I'm feeling like this is never going to work out. And then you take a moment, right? And I think this is so key. When we're really doing this work, we are being more present. We are being more in that pause, right? Because when you have that pause, then you can kind of catch that negative thought, that negative emotion, and you can say, okay, this is like, maybe it's a circumstance that's really bad, right? And you need to, in that moment, just be in sadness and be present with being sad and being okay with being sad. So that secondary thought is, I love you, you're safe, it's okay to be sad right now. Because that is a really loving way to kind of approach yourself when you're going through something really hard, right? But if it's just a trigger and you're just feeling sad because something triggered you, you also want to have that secondary thought be, I love you. It is okay to feel sadness right now. But I'm curious, what would make you feel less sad? What would make you actually feel happy? What would actually make you feel joyful? Because it's really only two subjects, what you want and what you don't want, right? So we want to just finesse ourselves toward kind of what we do want. But to do that, you have to be kind to yourself. So it's all about emotional management, not ignoring your feelings, not ignoring the negative emotions or the sadness, but instead leveraging it by working with it as feedback, catching it quick, and that is what's going to get you closer and closer to your dream reality. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe. Love Vibes with JFO, and I'll catch you in my next video.